I see you standing at the edge of your own existence, shivering not from the cold, but from the paralyzing dread of actually being seen by the world. You claim you are waiting for the right moment, for the stars to align or for the pain to subside. But the truth is far more clinical. You are simply refusing to be born. I am here to tell you that your struggle is not with your circumstances, but with the terrifying responsibility of your own will. The conflict tearing you apart is the tension between your desire to merge with the safety of the crowd and your desperate need to stand alone as a unique individual. You seek comfort in the womb of your habits, because to step out is to face the ultimate isolation of the Creator. You are not a victim of a cruel fate. You are an artist who has become terrified of the blank canvas of your own future, choosing instead to rot in the familiar cage of your past. Your misery is not a flaw in the universe. It is a masterpiece of your own design, crafted meticulously to keep you from the risk of living. You blame your parents, your job, or your bad luck. Yet these are merely the props you use to justify your inertia. The external world is a mirror of your internal refusal to assert yourself, and until you stop hiding behind your self-inflicted wounds, you will remain a ghost in your own life. 1. Your suffering is a shield against existence. I watch you cling to your sadness as if it were a physical lifeline, using your trauma like a fortress to keep the demands of reality at bay. You wake up every morning and rehearse your limitations, reminding yourself of all the reasons why today cannot be the day you finally take command. This is not a lack of strength. It is a profound misuse of your will, directed entirely toward the preservation of your current, stagnant self. You prefer the predictable ache of your current failure to the unpredictable terror of a potential success that would demand you change who you are. The psychological reality is that you are addicted to the safety of being a victim, because victims are never required to lead. If you were healthy, if you were whole, if you were powerful, you would have no more excuses, and that thought scares you more than death itself. You have built an entire identity around what you cannot do, ensuring that no one, including yourself, ever expects you to cross the threshold into true adulthood. By remaining broken, you grant yourself a permanent exemption from the grueling labor of self-creation. You are effectively strangling your own growth to avoid the birth anxiety that comes with every new stage of development. To move forward is to leave behind the person you were, and you perceive this transition as a form of dying rather than a form of becoming. You would rather endure a slow, agonizing decay in the familiar dark than face the blinding light of a new responsibility. Your pain is the price you pay for the privilege of never having to risk your ego in the open market of life. I see how you nurture your anxieties, feeding them with constant rumination and obsessive self-analysis that leads nowhere. You think you are working on yourself, but you are actually just decorating your prison cell to make the confinement more bearable. True analysis is not about understanding your past. It is about finding the courage to act in the present, despite the weight of that past. You are using your process as a sophisticated form of procrastination, a way to feel productive while remaining absolutely still. This stagnation is a choice, though you will deny it with every fiber of your being to protect your fragile self-image. You argue for your limitations with such passion that you have finally convinced yourself they are objective facts of nature. They are not. They are the walls you built to keep out the wind of change, and you are now complaining that you cannot breathe. You are the jailer, the prisoner, and the architect of the bars, all at once. Every time you say, "I can't," what you are truly saying is, I will not. You will not face the guilt of outgrowing your peers. You will not face the fear of being wrong. You will not face the solitude of the visionary. You have turned your will inward, using it to suppress your own vitality so that you can remain small and safe. This internal sabotage is the only way you know how to maintain control over a life you are too afraid to actually lead. Think about the energy it takes to maintain your dysfunction, the constant vigilance required to ensure you never accidentally succeed. You are exhausted not because life is hard, but because you are fighting a non-stop war against your own potential. You are holding the door shut from the inside while crying out for someone to rescue you from the room. It is a pathetic display of cowardice disguised as a tragic misfortune, and you know it. The truth is that you don't want to be cured, because being cured means you lose your primary tool for manipulating the world and yourself. Without your problems, you would just be another person responsible for their own outcomes, and that is a burden you aren't ready to carry. You have made a pact with your shadow to stay in the shade, and now you wonder why you feel so cold. You are freezing because you have rejected the fire of your own agency. You must realize that this protective cocoon of misery is actually a shroud. You are burying yourself alive to avoid the scratches and bruises of a life lived in the sun. You claim to want freedom, but you flee from it every time it presents itself in the form of a difficult decision or a lonely path. You are not trapped by the world. You are trapped by your own refusal to be born into it. Stop pretending that your paralysis is a mystery or a medical condition. It is a strategic retreat from the battlefield of individuality. You are choosing to fail because failure is a known quantity, whereas success requires a constant, terrifying renegotiation of your entire existence. You are hiding in the ruins of your potential, hoping that the world will eventually stop asking anything of you. It won't. 2. The fear of living is the fear of being alone. I observe how you obsessively seek the approval of others, molding your opinions and your very personality to fit the expectations of the group. You are terrified of the life fear, that sudden, sharp realization that you are a separate entity, distinct from your mother, your partner, church, and your society. To be an individual is to be fundamentally alone, and you are so desperate to avoid that solitude that you are willing to sacrifice your soul to belong. You have traded your uniqueness for a seat at a table where no one actually knows who you are. The internal conflict you feel is the protest of your suppressed will against this forced conformity. Every time you bite your tongue or follow a trend you despise, a part of you dies, and the ghost of that lost self haunts you as depression. You call it being a good person or being agreeable, but it is actually a form of spiritual suicide. You are so afraid of the isolation that comes with self-assertion that you have become a mirror, reflecting everyone else's light while remaining dark inside. You think that by blending in, you are escaping the pain of rejection, but you are actually ensuring a much deeper pain, the pain of never having existed. If you never stand for anything that causes friction, you have never truly lived. You have merely functioned as a social appliance. The separation you fear is actually the prerequisite for any meaningful connection. You cannot truly love another person if you are simply using them as a hedge against your own loneliness. I see your desperate need for validation, as if the permission of others could somehow legitimize your presence on this earth. You are waiting for a judge who does not exist to tell you that it is okay to be yourself. This search for external authority is a regression to childhood, a refusal to take the throne of your own life. You are looking for a father figure in your boss, a mother figure in your spouse, and a god in your ideology, all to avoid the terrifying silence of your own conscience. The psychological birth requires you to cut the umbilical cord of social approval, and you are currently holding onto it with white-knuckled desperation. You fear that if you speak your truth, the world will turn its back on you, and you will vanish into the void. What you don't realize is that you are already in the void. You are just surrounded by people who are equally lost and equally fake. The only way out is through the gateway of your own isolation. You use love as a weapon to bind people to you, creating dependencies that stifle both you and them. You call it intimacy, but it is often just a mutual pact to never grow up and never leave the nest of shared illusions. When someone tries to assert their own will, you feel it as a personal attack, shocked because it reminds you of the will you have buried in yourself. You are not seeking a partner. You are seeking a cellmate to help you endure the sentence of your own mediocrity. Every time you conform to avoid a conflict, you are asserting that the peace of the moment is more valuable than the integrity of your life. You are selling your birthright for a mess of pottage, for the fleeting comfort of not being judged. But the judgment is already happening inside of you. You know you are a fraud, and no amount of social standing can silence the inner voice that whispers, "This isn't you." You are afraid that if you become an individual, you will be too much for people to handle, or not enough to survive on your own. This duality is the hallmark of the neurotic mind. The fear of being overwhelmed by life and the fear of being discarded by it. So you choose to stay in the middle, in the gray zone of the average, where you are neither alive nor dead. You are a walking compromise, a committee-designed version of a human being. The truth is that the people you are trying so hard to please do not actually care about you. They care about the version of you that makes their lives easier. The moment you become inconvenient, they will move on, and you will be left with nothing because you never built a self to return to. You are investing your entire life in a bank that is already bankrupt. The only currency that matters is the strength of your own will. Stop looking for consensus before you act. The Creator never asks for a vote. If you want to exist, you must be willing to be the villain in someone else's story and the stranger in your own home. You must embrace the cold wind of individuality, or you will spend your life huddled for warmth around the dying embers of other people's expectations. Choose the loneliness of the mountain over the suffocation of the valley. 3. Creation is the only escape from the past. I see you trapped in a cycle of repetition, reenacting the same failures and the same heartbreaks as if you were reading from a script you didn't write. You believe you are dealing with new problems, but you are actually just recycling the old wounds of your childhood, projecting them onto every new person you meet. You are a prisoner of your own history because you have refused the one thing that can break the chain, the act of creation. You would rather be a victim of your past than the creator of your future. The psychological reality is that unless you are actively creating your own reality, you are merely a byproduct of someone else's. Your personality, your tastes, your career, most of these were handed to you, and you accepted them because you were too lazy or too scared to invent yourself. To create is to take a stand against the chaos of the unconscious. It is to impose your will upon the world. Without this creative act, you are just a biological machine processing old data until you break down. You think of creativity as something for painters or poets, but I am talking about the fundamental creativity of the human soul. It is the ability to say no to what was and yes to what could be. You are currently a passive observer of your own life, watching it happen to you like a movie you've already seen 1,000 times. You complain about the plot, yet you never grab the pen to change the ending. I see how you use your unconscious as an excuse, claiming that you have trauma or complexes that prevent you from moving forward. You have turned psychology into a new form of fatalism, a way to say, I can't help it, it's my subconscious. I tell you that the unconscious is not a fixed destination. It is the raw material from which you must forge a self. By refusing to create, you allow the stagnant waters of your past to drown your present potential. The reason you don't create is that creation involves guilt. When you create something new, you are effectively destroying the old order. You are killing the expectations your parents had for you, the comfort of your peer group, and the safety of the status quo. This creative guilt is what keeps you paralyzed. You feel like a criminal for wanting to be more than what you were told to be. So you stay loyal to your misery to avoid the feeling of betrayal. You must understand that your personality is not a fixed object you were born with. It is an ongoing performance. If you don't like the play, change the role. But you won't, because playing the lead requires a level of courage you haven't yet summoned. You would rather be a supporting character in your own life, someone who things happen to, because that role comes with much less responsibility. If you fail as a supporting character, it's the director's fault. If you fail as the lead, it's yours. So I see your self-sabotage for what it truly is, a desperate attempt to stay within the boundaries of the familiar. Every time you are on the verge of a breakthrough, you do something to ruin it. You pick a fight, you miss a deadline, you get sick. You do this because the new you is a stranger, and you are terrified of meeting him. You would rather be the loser you know than the winner you don't recognize. Creation is a form of rebirth, and birth is always violent and painful. You are trying to find a way to grow that doesn't hurt, but there is no such thing. The tension you feel is the pressure of the new life trying to break through the shell of the old one. If you don't assist in this birth, the new life will die inside you, and its decay will poison everything you touch. That is the source of your bitterness, the rotting remains of the person you were supposed to become. You are waiting for inspiration or clarity before you act. But clarity is a reward for action, not a prerequisite for it. You create the path by walking it, not by studying a map in your room. Your endless planning and researching are just sophisticated ways of staying in the womb. You are overthinking because you are underliving. The only truth is found in the doing, in the messy, imperfect assertion of your will. Stop looking for the meaning of life as if it were a hidden treasure you could find. Life has no meaning other than the one you have the guts to invent. You are the meaning maker. If your life feels empty, it is because you have failed to pour yourself into it. You have stood on the sidelines, criticizing the players while your own clock runs out. Pick up the brush, take the risk, and start painting over the wreckage of your past. 4. Your will is the only cure for your neurosis. I see you looking for a cure in pills, in therapy, in meditation, and in 1,000 different distractions. You want someone to take the bad feelings away so you can go back to being a functional cog in the machine. But your neurosis is not a disease. It is a sign of health. It is your will crying out because it is being strangled by your own cowardice. You don't need a doctor. You need to reclaim the power of your own decision-making. The fundamental problem you face is that you have externalized your will. You think things happen to you, or that you have to do things because of your job or your family. This is a lie. You choose everything. You choose to stay in that soul-crushing job. You choose to tolerate that toxic relationship. You choose to wake up and be miserable. You deny this because admitting you have a choice means admitting you are responsible for your own suffering, and that realization is more painful than the suffering itself. Your symptoms, the anxiety, the depression, the panic, are actually protests from your soul against the life you are forcing it to live. It is like a fire alarm going off in a burning building, and instead of putting out the fire, you are trying to find a way to muffle the sound of the alarm. You want to be calm in a situation that should rightfully make you scream. Your neurosis is the only part of you that is still honest enough to tell you that you are living a lie. I watch you struggle with discipline as if it were a foreign substance you need to inject. Discipline is nothing more than the will directed toward a goal. You lack discipline because you don't actually want the goals you claim to have. You just want the results without the transformation. You want to be fit without the pain of the gym. You want to be rich without the risk of the venture. You are trying to negotiate with reality, looking for a loophole where you don't have to exert yourself. The individual will is the most powerful force in the human psyche, and it is the one thing you are most afraid to use. If you actually used your will, you would have to face the fact that you are the one who has been holding yourself back all these years. You would have to face the guilt of your wasted time. To avoid this, you pretend to be weak. You play the role of the helpless one so that no one can blame you for your failure. You use your feelings as a compass, but your feelings are just echoes of your past habits. If you wait until you feel like it to do something important, you will never do it. The will must override the feeling. You must learn to act against your own impulses if those impulses lead back to the cave. The heroic act is not a grand gesture on a battlefield. It is the daily, quiet decision to choose the difficult path of growth over the easy path of decay. I see you constantly seeking advice, hoping that someone else will give you the secret formula for a happy life. There is no formula. There is only your choice. Every time you ask, "What should I do?" you are trying to give your will away to someone else. You want them to be responsible if it goes wrong. You are looking for a master because you are afraid to be your own. True therapy is not about understanding why you are the way you are. It is about finding the strength to be someone else. Your neurosis will vanish the moment you stop fighting yourself and start fighting for yourself. The conflict is between your desire to stay a child and the necessity of becoming a man or woman. You are stuck in the birth canal, and it is starting to crush you. You must push. You must exert your will to break through into the world of adults, where you own your actions and their consequences. Stop treating your mind like a fragile object that needs to be protected. Your mind is a tool that needs to be used. The more you protect yourself from stress and challenge, the weaker and more neurotic you become. Resilience is built through the assertion of will in the face of resistance. You are like an athlete who refuses to train because it's hard and then wonders why they lose the race. The truth is that you are powerful, and that is what terrifies you. You have the power to change your life today, in this very moment, by making a single, uncompromising decision. But you won't, because you are still hoping for a painless way out. There is no painless way. There is only the way of the will. Choose to exist or choose to fade away. The universe doesn't care which you pick, but you should. 5. Self-sabotage is your desperate bid for control. I watch you trip yourself at the finish line, time and time again, and you look around with feigned surprise as if a phantom had pushed you. You are the phantom. You sabotage your own success because success is a form of psychological death, the death of the old, failing you that you have become so comfortable with. You are so attached to your identity as a struggler that you cannot allow yourself to actually win. To win would be to lose yourself. The internal mechanism of self-sabotage is a way of maintaining control in a world that feels overwhelming. If you fail because of bad luck, you are a victim. But if you fail because you secretly sabotaged yourself, you are still the master of your fate. You would rather fail on your own terms than succeed on the world's terms. It is a perverted form of autonomy, a no shouted at life, because you are too afraid to say yes to its demands. You create emergencies and crises to distract yourself from the real work you should be doing. You get into unnecessary arguments. You forget important appointments. You indulge in self-destructive habits, all to ensure that you stay exactly where you are. These are not accidents. They are strategic strikes against your own progress. You are a sniper, and your own ambition is the target. I see how you use procrastination as a weapon against your own potential. You tell yourself you are waiting for the right time, but you are actually just waiting for the opportunity to pass, so you don't have to risk being judged. If you never finish the project, no one can say it's bad. By staying in the planning phase, you maintain the illusion of being a genius who just hasn't started yet. You prefer the perfect potential to the flawed reality. The fear of the self is the root of this behavior. You are afraid that if you actually tried your hardest and still failed, it would mean you are truly worthless. So you give yourself an out. You fail because you didn't try, or because you got in your own way. This allows you to maintain the fantasy that, if I really wanted to, I could be great. It is the most pathetic lie a human being can tell themselves. It is the ego's way of protecting its pride at the cost of its life. You must realize that your failures are often just as planned as your successes would be. You are achieving exactly what you want, a reason to stay small. You have an internal thermostat for how much happiness and success you think you deserve. And the moment you go above that level, you trigger a cooling mechanism of sabotage to bring you back down to your baseline of misery. You are comfortable in the cold. This cycle of self-sabotage is a refusal to be reborn. Each new level of success requires a new version of you, and you are terrified of losing the old one. You are like a snake that refuses to shed its skin, even as the old skin starts to tighten and choke you. You would rather suffocate in your old identity than go through the temporary vulnerability of being new. You are killing your future to protect your past. I see your addictions and your vices not as moral failings, but as tools of the will used to dull the pain of your own potential. You drink, you scroll, you hide. Anything to quiet the voice that tells you that you are wasting your life. You are self-medicating the guilt of your own inertia. But the guilt is there for a reason. It is the call of the self trying to wake you up from your self-induced coma. So you must stop treating your self-sabotage as a mystery to be solved. It is a decision to be reversed. You are doing it to yourself because you are a coward who prefers the safety of the gutter to the risk of the peak. You are using your creative energy to build a cage instead of a ladder. It is a brilliant, tragic waste of a human life, and only you have the power to stop the demolition. The moment you accept that you are the one holding the knife, you can finally put it down. But that means accepting that every failure you've ever had was on some level a choice. That is a heavy burden, but it is the only one that will make you strong. Admit that you have been your own worst enemy, and then, for the first time in your life, Try being your own ally. The war is over as soon as you decide to stop fighting yourself. You have spent your entire life running from the person you were meant to be, hiding in the shadows of someday, and if only. I have shown you the mirrors you use to avoid your own reflection, and I have stripped away the excuses you use to justify your paralysis. Now, you stand naked before the truth of your own will. You can choose to step out into the terrifying, beautiful light of your own individuality, or you can crawl back into the suffocating comfort of your self-inflicted grave. The door is open, the birth is happening, and the only person who can decide whether you live or die is you. Stop waiting for permission. The world has already given you life. Now, have the courage to actually live it.